So for part A, what's our R value?
It's 1/4.
Our R value is 1/4. Again, if you don't know how to, if you can't see it, you can always take two terms in a row and divide them. So if I take my first and second term and I say second one divided by my first one, it's always the next one divided by the previous one. And I simplify that, I get 1/4. You could choose 2 divided by 8. You will get 1/4. You could do a half divided by 2. You will get 1/4. So any two consecutive ones, if you divide them, you're going to find your R value. That's going to come in helpful when you can't see it with mental math. Okay? Because R is 1/4, will this converge or diverge? This one will converge, so we are able to figure out what this infinite sum is. Term 1 is 32. 1 minus 1/4. Which is 32 divided by 3/4. Which is 128 over 3. And as a decimal, that is 42.6 repeated. Personally, I like the fraction form better because this is an exact answer. This 42.6 tells me more if I was going to estimate how much that is, 42 and a bit, 42 and a half. But leaving it like this is an exact answer, especially if the decimal's not right. This one, you could put a line over it to say it continues on forever. But on your calculator, you only get to see the first 8 digits. There's ones that go 0.666666, and then it might change to something else way down the line. So you have to make an assumption. So I prefer the fraction.
Okay. On the online quiz, does it do fractions, like with that fancy thing?
Yes, for the online one, when you write a fraction, there's a button off to the side.
And is that what you want us to use online?
It will tell you, it'll say, could you round to 1 decimal place, then round to 1 decimal place. If it says write your answer as an exact value, then leave it as a fraction. Okay? And it's pretty smart too. If you didn't reduce your fraction, but your fraction is right, it'll accept it. Unless it says in lowest terms, then they'll want you to change it. How did I find the fraction from here to here? So how do we divide by a fraction? Dividing by a fraction is same as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So from here to here, I said my fraction on the top is 32 over 1. If I'm dividing by 3/4, that's the same as multiplying by 4 over 3. And then 32 times 4 is 128, and 1 times 3 is 3. So that's how I went from here to 128 over 3. If I wanted 1 subtracted 1/4 to 3/4, how do you add and subtract fractions? You need a common denominator, so I changed the 1 to 4 over 4 minus 1 over 4, and that gave me 3 over 4. Awesome. The second one, for part B, what is our R value? Negative 1 over 10. Will that converge or diverge? It is between negative 1 and 1, so this one will converge as well, and we will be able to figure out the sum to infinity. Term 1 is 100 over 1 minus negative 1/10. And as a fraction, this will be 1,000 over 11. And as a decimal, it is 90.90 repeated. Just show you some neat things on your calculator here. So I'm going to go to my fraction thing, and I'm going to write this exactly as it was, which was 100 divided by oops, I'll go on the bottom here, 1 minus, and then in brackets, negative 1 divided by 10. So that's exactly what we wrote down. If you push enter, you're going to get the 90.9090 repeated that we saw. If you're wondering, is there a way to change this decimal to a fraction on my calculator? If you haven't done this before, hit the math button. And the very first one says change to a fraction. And if you take that answer and change it to a fraction, it shows you that in reduced form, it's 1,000 over 11. This is also helpful if you are trying to reduce a fraction. For example, if you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divided by 4, 5, 6, and you didn't want to reduce that by hand, you could type it into your calculator, push enter, it tells you a decimal. Hit the math button and change it back to a fraction. And it changes it back to a fraction in lowest terms. So that can be really nice in some cases. Okay, the questions you can do for this one. Questions for number 2 are 5, 6, 7, and 10.